Well, that's how I got myself advanced. That's how we got the music passed from the old generation. Because every house around our way, every house nearly had a fiddle hanging on the wall, you know. And nearly all the young people that was in that house played the fiddle as well. And then there used to be dances as well, especially weekends and all that, in the house dancing. And maybe 2 or 3 fiddle players would be in there. And that's how we picked up the music. And then, of course, the John Dohertys, the Sammy Dohertys, great fiddle players of Donegal, they used to come around and they used to come in and we'd have a great, well, we loved them, you know, because they were something special. I remember coming one day, wet day, very wet, and Mickey Doherty came in with his wife and the family. And me mother made, that time there was no mugs or cups, a bowl of tea, homemade bread and homemade butter. And my father says to him after a while, Mickey, you might play a tune. By God, says Mickey, I will play you a tune. He was glad because it's raining outside anyway. I'll play you a tune, surely, Peter. And he took out the fiddle. My goodness, what a player. He played some lovely music that evening, all evening. So that's how we were picked. I learned a tune of him that day too, but I'll play it for you again. But that's how we picked up the music in Vincy as well. You know, Patrick, I remember your grandfather. He was some character, God rest his soul. He used to go up to Denny's, and myself and Vincy, God, he's gone too. We used to come in, and he would be over in the corner after a day's work. First thing he'd say, boys, have you got the fiddle with you? And Vincy would go out and take in the 2 fiddles. And that was in the evening on till late at night. And the first tune he would ask was Mockingbird Hill. And we used to play that for him. And he was looking at all the women around him, ready to dance, mind you. He was a character. But we'd play it for you the way he let. And that made his night. And he went up. The reason I let him play it for him, because he bought us a drink afterwards.
What inspired me was, I suppose, first of all, was trips over here, because we live raised in England. But you'd come back every year, for nearly the month of August, and you'd hear all the music then. Like, you know, Vincy was playing and Clumber a bit that time too. But then back in England, there was a lot of music as well. There was, you know, the 70s and that. An awful lot of the best musicians from Ireland were living in London and around there, like, you know. And there was an Irish club up the road from us, and a lot of them used to come there, loads of them. But then someone who used to live not far away from us, like Finbar Dwyer and Brendan McGlinchey, they only lived just down the road from us. So you'd hear great music. And then, of course, Dad himself, on a Saturday night, he'd be in the kitchen playing, you know, doing a bit of practicing before he was going out that night, and I'd be listening and watching away, and then after he'd go, I'd go up to the room and then scrape away a bit, I suppose. You know?
We're going to play 2 tunes now, 2 jigs. Tobin's is the first one, and Boys of the Town is the second one. And I remember when I was young, there was a fiddle player up our way called Peter Hearn, and he was on hire up in Cushendall. And he came back with this tune, and sure, we all learned a new tune. So it's the second one going to play it there tonight. So we'll play the two tunes anyway.
Yeah.
Tobin's and the
Tobin's favourite is the proper name.
Tobin's favourite, yeah.
Yeah, so me, my background, I was gigging in cover bands since I was 13, 14. And I suppose I spent my whole life learning songs from CDs and YouTube, whatever else, trying to sound like people on the CD. And the more and more I went, I kind of grew away from that, and I kind of fell out of love with music a little bit. So one thing that people do when they fall out of love with music is they learn different type of music or a different instrument. And I kind of found myself going back, and I kind of like enjoyed the Irish music more, I suppose, the older I got. And I suppose it takes me out of my comfort zone, because even when I'm playing there now, there's times I'm kind of going, I don't know what chord to play, but some of them work okay. It's kind of like a jigsaw piece. You can, like, most things will work, but it's about finding the right one. So I'm learning on the go. I'm trying to get up with Peter and Granda as much as I possibly can now.
By the way, these Highlands was, when I was young, two fiddle players up the glen, the top of the glen of Glenties. And these are the Highland was very popular in Donegal, you know, for dancing. And these two, one of them was Pat McDevitt and the other fellow was Owen Ward. But we used to call Pat Federer and Owen...
Owen Huey,
Owen, I forget his name now. But they used to call the Irish names Huey Owen.
Huey Owen.
Huey Owen, yeah. But this is Pat Federer's one. Vinci had a great bow hand, and he had great faith in himself too, you know. He had to be better than anybody else. But he was good, you know. And I remember he used to listen to John Samey a lot, John Doherty, and pick up his bow hand and everything. I remember when Vinci was learning too, I'm thinking of John Doherty. He was in the house, and Vinci was learning the fiddle, and he played this little tune that he learned, you know. And John got up to go out the floor, and Vinci thought he didn't think much of it. Maybe John, he says, it's not much of a tune. And John turned around on his heel and he said, listen, Caddy, he says, every tune is good if it's played for its worth. And Vinci never forgot that, you know. Every tune is good if it's played the right way. Same with the song or anything, you know.
So this is a tune that I learnt from a fiddle player called Willie Hunter. He was from Shetland Islands. I was lucky enough to be out there once, but sadly Willie had passed away by that stage. But he was supposed to be coming from to Glenties for the Fiddlers Do one year, but he wasn't well enough and unfortunately never made it. But I bought this CD of his, and there was a piano player on it too, strangely enough, Violet Tulloch, what's her name? But there's lovely music on it. But he played this particular air and it struck me. And the way he said he composed it was, he was leaving Shetland. He loved Shetland so much. He was leaving Shetland on the ferry, and as he was gradually going away and it was moving further and further away, he felt so sad, like, you know, to be leaving and seeing the lights dimming and dimming and dimming. And he made this air, and I thought it was a lovely air, so I'll play it anyway and see.
Passed on then, I passed it on to Peter, because in England, you know, then Peter took up the fiddle there, and now he's a nice fiddle player. I was watching Paddy and Denise on Friday night, and I was so proud there. There's another generation coming into the thing, you know. Very proud. You didn't realise that, Patrick? I drank more whiskey then. I was so proud.
Sorrow, sorrow, banyan na Hogan mar fein and sorrow lin Sorrow bui fin on inglega Hogan mar fein and sorrow lin Hogan mar lin ne okul creever Hogan mar fein and sorrow lin Sorrow bui all in a grena Hogan mar fein and sorrow lin Babog na bouncing a maidan and sorrow Suez ga crock she's ga clan Cadany mashika ban gonna glega Hogan mar fein and sorrow lin
This little tune I made up myself anyway. And I went down to Denny's on a Saturday night, and there was this fella from Dublin in there, Flannery, you might have known him. So I played the tune, and a few of them was listening to it, and Flannery says, "What name are you putting on it?" I says, "No name, I'm only after making it." He says, "We'll call it Jack in the Tavern, because Dublin men are Jackie, see, and the tavern was Denny's. We call it Jack in the Tavern, and that's the name it ever got since. And Kevin McKee went away, and he put a frame, and he wrote it all. You've seen it in there, the notes and all inside. But one night after that, then Peter was laughing. There was a music night in it. We were talking away over in the corner, and there was a Japanese girl. Was she Japan?
Oh, she's from Japan.
She's Japan, lovely fiddle player. But I was over, and the next thing I could hear my tune being played. And I said to myself, I didn't compose that at all. And she was reading it off the board that your man put up, the notes.
She was reading it?
She was reading it off the board perfectly too.
She was stood next to me at the bar, and I could see him over in the corner. And she had the fiddler in her hand. And I was chatting away to her. I said, "Oh, well, you sight read, don't you?" "Oh, yeah," she did. I said, "Can you read that tune there? It was behind the bar that time." "Oh, yes." She started playing another time. You start.
And did she play it nice?
Huh?
She played well?
Aye, she played it very well, yeah. better.